Everyone. Thanks for joining us today for our first Friday Public Affairs call update. It's May 1st, 2026. Can't believe it's May 1st as we were just talking, but I'm Steve Japping, Senior Vice President of Public Affairs at the Lansing Regional Chamber of Commerce. These monthly calls are designed to keep our members informed, engaged on federal, state, regional policy issues shaping Lansing's business climate. Special thank you to ITC Holdings for their continued partnership in making these conversations possible. As a reminder, today's call is being recorded. All information we're going to update everybody on is current as of this morning. 11 to 11:30. Things change. But before I jump into some kind of broader and today, I know we had last month, and appreciate Tim and Kevin Courtois from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce coming in and talking about several different issues on the federal side that obviously impact us here locally and regionally. But I'm going to just provide some updates. If people do have questions, happy to answer those because a lot has been happening within that month since the last time we did do the that update. But a couple of chamber updates. I know earlier this week we did send out our monthly Capital Connections newsletter, and just talking about some just looking at our region overall and things that we're watching. Obviously my role at the chamber on our public affairs department, that advocacy side, government relations, just working with a lot of our, local, state, federal elected officials on what that policy looks like. But, there's been a trend out there, and I think we're all noticing it, feeling it, seeing it, hearing it, whatever that may be, of and I don't want to use just anti-growth, um, you know things happening, be it, and I don't want to get heavy on the data centers, but just the moratoriums that are happening. But you're continuing to see the folks that they don't want in their backyard, or I forget all these acronyms, the bananas of no development whatsoever, which is very concerning. Obviously, to the Lansing Regional Chamber, it should be through a lot of the business organizations, just community leaders, all that. And that's why, in our message yesterday, it was just like, we see this, but we need to continue, and we will. The Lansing Chamber is to continue to lean into this space because we are living the mission of the chamber to help our, relentlessly help businesses connect, grow, and thrive. And part of that is being the voice of business, being able to stand up on and talk about issues that may not be popular to talk about or to support. But that's why in that messaging outside of that, we're going to continue to engage in all these sorts of areas that we want to look at how we're being focused on growth opportunities for our region, business expansion, housing development, whatever it may be. That we need, yes, we're the chamber, yes, we're bringing folks together, but we need more voices to join us in a lot of those calls. And that's where in that communication, I'm going to put it back in here today, but why we have been kind of, I don't know if switching or enhancing some of our advocacy, but really, having folks sign on to letters with us to support, projects. And what we've also been doing is, and I'll get to the two projects, I'll put them in there specifically that are happening in East Lansing. But before, we would typically, and you hear that from a lot of the elected officials, which I totally understand, they're representing different jurisdictions. Um, we would reach out to just certain businesses within those jurisdictions to support a project. But we need to, as a regional chamber, as a region in general, we need to be working together because if something happens in Mason, that's going to be good for St. John's, Delta Township to Meridian Township, East Lansing, Lansing. We're all a big community here, and these projects have impacts. Be it people that work there, they might work in East Lansing, but they might live in Charlotte. I don't know, but the way we've been changing it now is so the two projects that we just sent out, I'll put them in this in this Zoom chat, and we're going to continue to get this out to members. But the Howard development project in East Lansing, so that's the student bookstore, 600 block project that they want to redevelop that, putting into housing, mixed use. We've already seen how successful some of the other projects that have occurred in East Lansing, specifically in their downtown, have been. And that's where we've opened that up beyond East Lansing businesses for all of our members to support that, because it does have an impact for the region. And then the second one that just came about was, and I'm sure a lot of people on this call and others that may be listening, is the Graduate Hotel in East Lansing, the Rock Bar up on the top floor, which has beautiful views of campus, East Lansing, downtown Lansing. They reached out. They're going through a process in the city right now through the planning and the city council of expanding their operations up on that second floor, and they are seeking assistance from the chamber, other businesses, organizations to support that. And even for those that joined us last week at our economic club with Coach, the new MSU football coach Fitzgerald, he even talked about how he's utilizing businesses, specifically the Graduate Hotel, the Rock Bar up on the 10th floor there, of bringing in, those recruits, their families, like enjoying that experience, being able to see, the campus up there, those views. I mean, it's an important piece of just, the entire ecosystem around the region. And, we invite everybody. I mean, that's why you're on these calls to get these updates, but we are really going to be asking, encouraging, your voice to be part of what needs to happen here, because again, we're seeing it from across the board where, and it's tough. It's tough for elected officials. Totally get it. We're not in their spot. We are trying to support them and help them. It is tough, I'm sure, but we want to be able to be there to support them, because you can't just kick the can down the road. We have to make, they have to make these decisions and move on things, or else we're gonna lose out, and we don't want that to happen. So, wanted to kind of touch base on that. Outside of like some of those letter campaigns, some of the things that are coming up as well that I wanted to touch base on and really invite folks. I know folks that are on here have participated in the past, but it is an election year, 2026. Outside of the governor, all the statewide races, we have the U.S. Senate that's open. Senator Gary Peters is now running again. We have our congressional seat, the 7th congressional, where current member Congressman Barrett is serving. That'll be a top seat, but we put together our Meet the Candidates series. It's kind of our town hall. We've kind of reimagined it for this year. That's supported by McKinney and Associates, but again, great opportunities to meet with, talk with, listen to candidates that are running, in for the state house, state senate's all up. Again, the U.S. Senate, congressional, being able to talk to them, and we've provided. I mean, it's amazing sometimes when you think you're going to get a lot of people that are going to show up to meet with the candidate, and it's a smaller group, which is great. It's still impactful, but we definitely want to have people there. And then for those that I've heard, we always hear a lot of folks that are, I don't want to say intimidated. Maybe they're just, nervous to be in these settings, but, a lot of these folks that are running are just like you and I. They're just, they're people running for the office, or they've been there for a while. Half the battle's showing up, and we do ask people, it'd be great to have you at several of these Meet the Candidate series. We have Representative Whitwer, who I know a lot of people on this call know, next week, but we have, State Senator Sam Singh is now running for re-election again, which is really unfortunate, but that's an open seat. So we have current Ingham County Commissioner Mark Polstorfer, who will be in our office. So again, great opportunity to meet him as a candidate. He has been endorsed by Senator Singh. That is several people running in that primary, but great opportunity to meet him. And then, as I mentioned, on the statewide front, we have Republican Attorney General candidate Doug Lloyd, who will be in, that's, right after Mark Polstorfer, but kind of mid-May. And for those that, probably know Doug, he's the current Eaton County prosecutor. He always shows up to our Delta Township, Eaton County Business Roundtable. But again, great opportunities. These folks are running for these positions. They're asking everybody for their vote. So it's just a great opportunity for our businesses, our community leaders to be able to be in those spaces and talk to them. For everybody to know, and we will try, the best we can is to communicate it. But I have all the U.S. Senate candidates. I'm working on all the schedules now. So if you think of, on the Democratic side with Haley Stevens, Senator McMorrow, Dr. Abdul, they're all coming in. Mike Rogers, and then on the seventh congressional district, as well as all those candidates, as well as the incumbent Congressman Barrett. So please, participate, engage in that capacity when you can. So a few updates. The other thing too that I kind of wanted to shift to of just kind of broader public affairs update, and is just we've updated our strategic plan. We had a lot of our obviously members that were engaged on that. And we'll get this out to the broader membership, but I just, we put it together this week, but just looking at, Q1, we're trying to benchmark ourselves. We want to make sure we're doing everything we can do for our members, throughout the board, but there's so many issues that we get, pulled into, so many issues that we want to be able to engage on, and really making sure that we are, putting all these down, showing members where we are having success and where there's positivity on that, but there's also some things that don't always go well, and we're making sure we're benchmarking those. But just for kind of a snapshot of Q1 for the group here and those that may be listening. So part of on our strategic plan, we need to have 80% positive policy outcomes. And we have a policy committee of a lot of great individuals on there that help kind of determine where where we fall in line of when at the end of the year of like, are we hitting the 80%? Are we not? What are those types of positions that we're tracking and engaging on? But kind of right now we have been tracking 15 kind of key policy economic development issues, and we're right around 40% currently of just kind of positive track. A majority of these are still in progress. A lot of what I do and others that are on the call, some of these things never get handled, in a week or a month. It could take a year, it could take 2 years. Obviously, we want things to get done faster. But still, just wanted to kind of talk about and get those out to everybody that we are actively making sure that we're benchmarking ourselves and being the best we can for our members. But we're really, right now at 40%. We're seeing a lot of momentum on the development side of things. So I know I just talked about the Howard redevelopment, but the University of Michigan Health Sparrow, they just got announced their expansion of the behavioral health facility, the outpatient surgical hospital that's going to be being redeveloped here soon. For those that have been following it, maybe in the city of Lansing, the Lansing Shuffle that's right down on the waterfront, just 2 weeks ago, and we've been asking city council on this. The owner or the tenants of the Lansing Shuffle, which is owned by the property is owned by the city, is they want to be able to purchase that from the city. So just 2 weeks ago, Lansing City Council did approve that there's going to be language going to the August ballot for Lansing residents to vote whether or not to sell that property to the Lansing Shuffle. We think that's a great idea, but that was something that we feel is a positive of moving forward, in the grand scheme of things, of just our policy and our advocacy and action. So that was really good to see. But at the same time, as mentioned, on kind of the negative side of things, and I don't want to get too, talk too much on this issue. I mean, I can, because we talked about it for so long, for 6 months almost, but the Deep Green Data Center, that proposal is not going to be advancing in downtown at the, very underused city parking lot. That was obviously a missed opportunity, a lost opportunity for the city. It was $120 million, project proposal that would have gone at that empty city parking lot on the corner of Cedar and Larch across from Wendy's. Not only significant tax revenue to the city, but also if you think of the Board of Water and Light has a great program called Pennies for Powers, which helps keep the lights on for those that are struggle to pay their utility bills. Part of that project proposal was to fund that program at a crazy high level, and it just I don't want to say the number. I think it was like 1,100 households were going to be positively impacted by that proposal if it went through. And again, that's the lost opportunity um, that we are seeing, and we're trying to communicate that the best of our ability because there are a lot of positive things happening, but also making sure that we are, telling that story of the lost opportunity of local municipalities or the state or the federal level of not supporting these types of proposals, of what that impact is going to be on residents of that municipality, of whatever it may be. And I just again, it's we there's still a lot of momentum, but it's super competitive. We want to be able to land some of these next generation projects, but just something that I wanted to update, and and it's always when I'm just down here, I feel like I'm filibustering, but um, definitely, just giving you an idea of what we're working on, why we're working on it, but also talking about the some of the things that we've not been successful on and the reasons why. Um, so I'm gonna look and see if there's any questions. If you do have questions, I know this is just an update call. I'm happy to answer them. Thanks, Rebecca. I know I just talked to Rebecca on the call before this. Um, but there's always a couple other things I would say that, but some of the other things that we're working on that you have all been very helpful on. Um, a couple months ago, we asked members we put out a survey on just the municipal business climate, the regulatory climate within our region. And we did get some great results back. So again, get the survey results. We're going through that right now. I know in our most recent Focus Business Monthly magazine, we highlighted a lot of those results. More than half of the businesses, rated their experience within our region at kind of, you know, C or lower. Now, as a B student, but C or lower is not great. Top concern of members have been predictability and just speed of decision making. So just quickly on that, when we think of businesses, the speed is important. Time is money. So when we do think of when our local municipalities are putting moratoriums in place, that's going to impact the speed of decision making for a lot of businesses. That's a problem. And I think the biggest thing on the survey is we have the survey. So what are we doing with that? Outside of it, here's what it is. We are going to be meeting with, and we do hold, regional municipality leaders meetings at our offices, and we're going to be meeting with several of those leaders here in June, and we're going to go through this business climate regulatory survey. Again, walking through, we want to be supportive partners. They are a partner, but just trying to look for those positive solutions on how we can make this place better for businesses to not only continue to operate here, but to expand here, but to attract others to come here. But that was kind of the top concern: predictability and speed of decision making from that survey. So I do want to thank. I see a lot of people on this call that we can never see who is participating in the survey, but just talking to some of the people, I do want to just thank you for taking the time to do that because it is helpful. And then second, we're doing something with it. We are going to be moving on it, and just for everybody to know that. And then again, just timely issue. Another issue that I feel like we have, just like the data center issue that we just got done. working on for the past 6 months, but something that recently just kind of top um, just yesterday happened. But I wanted to briefly touch base on, because we, again, working on it for almost 7 years coming up, is just the state workers, in-person work. I know we have been very consistent as a chamber on believing that the state workforce plays an incredibly important role for our regional economy, specifically to downtown Lansing. They don't play the only role. I mean, we need state workers. We need that a density of workforce during the day, and I think we've shown. There's crane in the sky. There's a lot of different moving pieces of building new housing. Getting more people to live downtown, helping businesses continue to operate there, but bring new businesses in. But it really takes every single part of that economy downtown to really work and be successful. So a couple things on that. And again, I could go on and on and on, because we've been going on and on and on it for about 6 or 7 years now. Um, but last year, during the state budget process, and then I'll get to the committee in a second of what happened yesterday. Last year, the state house, state senate, this was signed by the governor. Within the state budget, there was language on boilerplate language on maximizing in-person state workers uh, up to the 80% threshold within those buildings, and just what's the building occupancy, all those sorts of things. Fast forward to yesterday, or even a little bit after that, we had sent the chamber had sent a communication to the Office of State Employer, who is in charge of state employees, of just asking for clarity, kind of guidance of what that looks like to get to 80%. When are these workers coming back? What's that going to look like? Because the reason we're asking is because our business community is asking us, how should they better plan for, if the legislature and the governor have signed this um, into law, into the budget, what does that look like, so they can better prepare to have product, to have employees scheduled, whatever that is, to be able to support that daytime workforce if they're going to come into the city. So we sent communication last, probably October. We finally did get something back from the Office of State Employer in December, just saying that they were adhering to what was passed by the legislature and signed by the governor. So yesterday there was a committee hearing with the and the House side to bring the Office of State Employer in to get an update on where they are on these things. And myself and Tim went down to hear um, the update. And what we found was completely, or what we heard was unacceptable. I think we knew what was going to happen, but just to hear it was unbelievable. But there is no clear enforcement mechanism whatsoever. There's no single entity um, on the state side of things that is implementing that policy. And it was just kind of shocking to hear that from the Office of State Employer, where they were, probably good people. They are good people and whatnot. I'm not trying to say they're not. Pointing fingers at different departments of that, that they're in charge of that, but no policy exists. No one is adhering to the language that the legislature has approved of and the governor signed. And that's a problem. So again, not a popular issue for us to continue to advocate on, because we get a lot of interesting letters, calls from retirees and current state workers that aren't happy with us. But we are representing and being the voice of business, and it's just unacceptable that you pass language in a budget bill that no one is following. And that's just one thing. we have no idea I mean, I don't know how many other boilerplate, whatever language else is not being fouled, not only here in our region, but across the state. So wanted to bring up that issue because it was so timely, just happened yesterday. Um, but again, it's not just a workforce issue for our downtown economic development issue. I mean, there's so much happening, so many positive things happening, but we need that daytime, that workforce to be back. And if they're not going to be back, what are we doing? What is the plan from the state, from the city, from our economic development agencies um, to redevelop those empty city parking lots that no state workers are really parking on, or even those buildings for that matter? So, just something that you're probably going to see it on the news, Facebook, social media. Um, we're not going away from it. We're going to continue to advocate on what is the plan, what does that look like moving forward as it pertains to that workforce in the city. So I know I'm right on the 11:30 um, hour here, but not seeing any other questions. But again, just to kind of, I guess, from the call today or the update, um, and I know I talk a lot about this, and you go from we have these monthly updates, and we're really our team's doing a fantastic job of how do we get this timely information out to folks. But when we do send emails, we're not just trying to send you emails and blow up your inboxes or fill those up, but please look at those. Please engage if you can on behalf of your organization or even as an individual. I'll leave this open. Um, the Zoom. I'm going to put the Howard development sign on as well as um, the Graduate Hotel Rock business expansion that they're proposing, the rooftop bar. I'll put that in there, but please continue uh, to work with us, be with us. I mean, you're part of this chamber, this community. You're invested. Your voice matters, and we just appreciate you being on here, hearing me do my 30-minute filibuster of things that are going on. But it matters. It's important, and your advocacy, um, drives that. So I just want to thank everybody for joining us this morning on this beautiful, cold May 1st day. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your Friday, and we will talk soon.